In this lesson we're going to take a look at joining the client computer that I have here, PC1, to the actual domain, so it's part of the actual domain itself, and it's going to be listed then in Active Directory and so forth. And then from that point on we can now control this computer from our main server. And so what I want to do is make sure that I've got the computer up and running and I've got my primary domain controller up and running. And in order for this to happen, we do need to have the domain controller running with a DHCP server as well. That way we can actually, when this computer turns on, it can receive the settings to let it know where the domain controller is and so forth. So now that we've got these roles configured, we can actually go in and start joining clients to our domain. So we're going to go ahead and first take a look at the Windows 7 computer. And this is going to be my client. So what I'm going to do to join it to the domain, I'm going to go ahead and click on Start. I have a local user account called Lecture Snippets here that I created when I installed the operating system. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually forfeit the local user accounts, and once we join the domain we're going to start using the actual user accounts that are part of the domain. These local user accounts will still be available to use and log into, but from this point on we're pretty much going to focus in on using domain user accounts that are part of the Active Directory, and you'll see that here through the videos. What I'll need to do is right click on computer and go to properties. And what we can see here is this is the computer name that I have typed for it at the moment, and what I want to do is I'm going to actually change my settings. It's part of a work group at the moment, and now that I'm here at changing my settings, I'm going to actually choose change the computer's name as well as the domain. And I can go ahead and give the computer a name. I'm going to go ahead and call it PC1 to kind of match the topology that I have there. So I'm going to go ahead and type in PC1. And I'm also going to say, you know what, make it a member of a domain. So I'm going to go click on domain, and I'm going to go ahead and type in the domain that I want it to go on. So I'm going to type in my last name, which is part of my domain. I can type in .local and hit OK. Now it's going to ask me for the credentials that belong to this domain to allow it to actually join it. And so I'm going to want to use the administrator account that I have on the domain. So I'll type in administrator and the password for that. And we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And if all of your network settings are correct and your computer can communicate with the DHCP server as far as basically the servers are turned on and so forth, we should be able to join the domain successfully. And you can see that I've got the little welcome to the pending.local domain. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And it's going to basically tell me I need to restart my computer from this point on in order for the settings to take effect. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit close, and we're going to restart now. And now after my client's restarted, I'm going to go ahead and log in. Notice when we come here to log in that it's going to actually give us this option here to log in under PC1, which is the name of the computer that I just logged in with. If I want to log into a local account, I have to type in my computer name, / and then that user account that I have for it. If I want to log into the domain users, I'm going to want to switch users, come over here to other user, and now if you take a look, it's going to say log on to pending, which is my domain. So it's going to actually let us log in now with a domain account rather than our local account. One thing to note is if I type in administrator, which is one of the user accounts that are on my domain, you're going to notice that it changes here to log on to PC1. It's going to try to log in with the administrator account that's a local account. So in order to do that as an administrator, I'm going to have to type in the name of my domain followed by the / and then the user account in order for me to log in under that domain. And we'll type in the password for the administrator account, and it's going to go ahead and let me log in. I'm now logged in here as the administrator on the desktop, and if I click start you can see that I'm the administrator. If I right click on the computer and go to properties, you're going to also see that I am now a member of the domain. You can see the computer name is PC-1. The full computer name is PC-1.pending.local. I am on the domain pending.local. So I'm actually running everything now, or being controlled by the domain. And I'm going to go ahead and log out real quick to show you. If I log off, I can actually log in with the different users that are part of the Active Directory. So I'm going to switch over to the Active Directory on the primary domain controller and look at a few of those users. And here I am on the primary domain controller. I'm going to go ahead and minimize the Server Manager. Let's go to Administrative Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers, and we're going to take a look at what user accounts I have to log in with. If I go to users, you're going to see I've got two different users, user 1 and user 2 that I created on a previous lesson. These two users and any users that I create as part of our Active Directory I'll be allowed to log in under those particular users on my client, because the client is now part of my domain and I can now use accounts that are on my domain as well. Just to verify, if I go to computers, there's PC1. PC1 now shows up as one of the computers that are part of my domain. So I'm going to go ahead and use user 1 to log in with on the client. So I'm going to switch over to the client. So let's log in under user 1. I'm going to go ahead and switch the user here. This is the last user that logged in under my domain. So I'll just switch user, use other user, and we're going to go ahead and type in just user 1. And then the password I set for that user account. And now I've logged in, and if I check the start menu, you can see that I've logged in under as user 1. And so from this point forward, all the users that are on my domain I can use to log into this client computer that has been joined to the domain. So this is successfully joining a client to a domain and being able to use the domain user accounts.